At night, the clinic was the only bright thing for kilometers. The surrounding land went black early. No streetlights, no neon, only scattered cooking fires and the cold scatter of stars. But the clinic stayed lit, a small rectangle of fluorescent glow on the edge of the settlement, because light meant work, injections, stitching, births, fevers that couldn't wait until morning. Light also meant something else. It meant people, and where there were people, there was waste. Behind the clinic, a metal trash cage sat near a short wall. It was supposed to keep animals out, but it wasn't a real fortress. The wire mesh was bent in places. The padlock was missing, replaced by a twisted bit of wire that worked only if you treated it gently. Animals didn't treat things gently. A spotted hyena waited in the darkness beyond the trash cage. It wasn't pacing, it wasn't bold, it was patient. Hyenas were often described like thieves or lunatics in stories, laughing, sneaking, dirty. But in real life, a hyena was an accountant of opportunity. It counted risk, it counted reward, it waited until the numbers made sense. This one was lean, but not starving. Its coat was mottled and rough with dust. Its ears were high and alert. A scar ran down one shoulder like a pale rope. It lay in a shallow depression near the road, head up, watching the clinic lights spill across dirt. Inside the clinic, Nurse Amina Carlo moved quickly from bed to bed. Amina had been on night duty for 3 nights in a row because the clinic was short-staffed. The nearest hospital was far. The ambulance fuel budget was always a fight, and everyone came here first because everyone believed the clinic could solve what the night brought. Tonight the night brought a boy with a deep cut on his thigh, machete accident, and an old man whose breathing sounded like gravel. Amina cleaned blood with practiced hands and didn't let her mind wander. Outside, the hyena listened. Sound carried. The clinic door opened and closed. Voices rose and fell. Somewhere a baby cried. Somewhere a radio played faintly, then cut off. Amina stepped into the hallway and looked at the power panel. The fluorescent lights flickered once, barely noticeable. She frowned. The generator sat in a small shed outside, a boxy old machine that coughed its way through nights like an old man climbing stairs. When the grid failed, which it often did, the clinic lived on the generator's heartbeat. If the generator stopped, the clinic would become darkness and panic. Amina called out to the night guard, a man named Joel. "Joel, check the generator fuel," Joel answered from outside. "I checked earlier." Amina's voice sharpened. "Check again." Joel muttered something, but footsteps crunched away. The hyena lifted its head higher. It didn't understand fuel, but it understood a human moving toward the generator shed. It understood patterns. When humans went outside at night, something was changing. Joel reached the shed with a flashlight, sweeping the beam across the ground. He didn't see the hyena at first. The hyena was outside the light, still as a rock. Joel opened the shed door and leaned in, checking the gauge. The hyena shifted silently, moving closer to the trash cage. It didn't go for the shed. It didn't go for the people. It went for the easiest reward, the smell of food scraps, bandages, old meat from staff meals tossed out with medical waste because the bins were always mixed when people were tired. Joel shut the shed door and turned back. His flashlight beam swung wide and caught eyes. Not bright, unnatural eyeshine, just the reflective look of an animal caught in sudden light. Joel froze. The hyena stood 10 meters away, head low, watching him. Joel's first instinct was to shout, to charge, to throw a rock. His second instinct arrived a half-second later. Don't run. Running in front of a hyena in the dark was how you ended up on the ground. Joel backed toward the clinic wall slowly, keeping his flashlight steady, not shaking it, like fear. "Hey," he called, voice loud. "Go on." The hyena didn't bolt. It simply stepped sideways, moving along the shadow line, still watching. Joel reached the wall and slapped the side of the building twice, hard, making a loud metallic sound. He wanted to be bigger than the night. The hyena paused, then turned away, trotting into darkness, only far enough to remain close. because it wasn't leaving. It was waiting. Joel hurried back to the door and went inside, locking it. Amina met him in the hallway. "What?" Joel swallowed. "Hyena," he said. "Near the trash." Amina's jaw tightened. "Again?" Joel nodded. Amina looked at the flickering lights and felt a cold line of worry. A hyena outside was a problem. A hyena outside during a power failure was a different kind of problem. Because when the clinic went dark, people spilled outside without thinking, looking for air, for help, for a phone signal, for something that made fear smaller. And predators didn't need much. They only needed one mistake. Outside, the hyena lay down again near the road. The clinic glowed, the generator rumbled. The hyena waited as if it knew time was on its side. The power failed at 1:47 a.m., not fully at first, just a stutter. Lights dimmed. The fan slowed. The refrigerator hummed unevenly. Then the grid dropped out completely. The generator should have caught the load instantly. It didn't. The lights went out with a suddenness that made the hallway feel like it had been erased. For 1 second, the clinic was silent. Then voices rose. Amina grabbed a flashlight from the nurse station and clicked it on. The beam cut through darkness, bouncing off pale walls. She heard the old man coughing, heard the boy whining with fear, heard a mother whispering to her child. "Stay calm," Amina called. "Everyone stay where you are." Joel ran toward the generator shed door. "I'll start it," he shouted. Amina's voice snapped. "Wait!" But Joel was already moving. Panic made people fast. Amina cursed under her breath and followed to the doorway, keeping the flashlight trained outside. The clinic yard was darker than usual without the porch light. The moon was thin behind clouds. Shadows swallowed everything. Joel pushed outside and ran toward the shed with his flashlight bouncing wildly. The hyena stood up immediately from the darkness near the road. It moved in a low trot, not toward Joel's face, not like a movie attack, but toward the space between Joel and the clinic, as if cutting off the easiest retreat. Amina saw it and shouted, "Joel, stop!" Joel heard her voice and froze mid-stride. His flashlight beam caught the hyena again. Closer now. Joel's breath came fast. "It's here," he said, voice cracking. Amina kept her voice hard and steady. "Back up," she ordered. "Slow. Come to the wall." Joel backed toward the clinic wall, 1 step at a time. The hyena followed, not rushing, just keeping pressure. Amina stepped out 2 paces, making herself visible beside the doorway. She raised her flashlight in one hand and a metal basin in the other. She slammed the basin against the doorframe. Clang, sharp and loud. The hyena flinched and paused. Amina didn't stop. She made noise again, rhythmic, confident, not screaming, not chaotic. Joel reached the wall and pressed against it, breathing hard. Amina kept the flashlight trained on the hyena's body, not its eyes, making sure she could see if it crouched, if it tensed. The hyena stood still for a long moment. Then, slowly, it turned its head toward the trash cage. The clinic darkness had changed the math. Humans were louder now, more unpredictable. But the trash was still there, and trash was easy. The hyena trotted toward the cage. Amina seized the moment. "Inside," she hissed to Joel. They moved quickly but without sprinting back through the door. Amina slammed it shut and locked it. The hallway behind her was chaos now. Patients calling out, mothers asking questions, someone demanding light. Amina raised her voice over the noise. "Everyone stay inside," she shouted. "Do not go outside." But fear didn't listen. The boy with the cut on his thigh began to cry louder. His father, tall, anxious, stood up and moved toward the door. "My son needs air," he said. Amina stepped in front of him. "He needs stitches," she said, "and he needs you not to get bitten outside." The father frowned. "By what?" Amina's eyes were hard. "Hyena," she said. The word made the room shift. People stiffened. Someone whispered a prayer. The old man with bad lungs started coughing harder, panicking. Amina forced herself to keep moving. She checked the boy's bleeding with a flashlight beam, wrapped pressure bandage tighter, then looked at the old man. "Sit up," she told him. "Breathe slow." In the background, Joel pounded on the generator door from inside, frustrated. "It won't start," he yelled. "The fuel line's clogged or something's wrong." Amina's stomach sank. A dead generator wasn't just inconvenience. It meant medications warming up, instruments useless, emergency care reduced to handlight and guesswork, and it meant the clinic's light, its deterrent, was gone. Outside, the hyena rattled the trash cage once, metal scraping metal. It had found the weakness. Amina heard it through the wall and felt a chill. The hyena wasn't attacking people yet, but it was learning the clinic without light, learning the sounds, the door, the timing, learning that when the generator failed, humans became messy. Amina grabbed the radio and called the district emergency number. Static, weak signal. She tried again. A voice answered, broken. Ambulance, delayed, roads. Amina closed her eyes for a second and forced herself to breathe. They were alone for now. She turned to Joel. "We need the generator," she said. Joel shook his head, sweat on his forehead despite the cold night. "I need to go out to clear the fuel line," he said. Amina's voice was sharp. "Not alone." Joel stared at her. "Then who?" Amina looked around at the frightened faces, the injured boy, the wheezing old man. She couldn't spare staff, but she also couldn't let Joel go out alone into darkness with a hyena nearby. She made a decision. "I'm coming," she said. Joel's eyes widened. "You're the nurse." Amina's voice didn't shake. "And you're not getting eaten because the generator chose tonight," she replied. She grabbed a second flashlight, a heavy metal pole used for moving oxygen tanks, and a small can of fuel additive. She looked at the room. "Lock the inner door," she told one of the clinic aides. "Keep everyone back." Then she faced Joel. "We go slow," she said. "We don't run. We make noise when we need to. We get the generator running, and we come back." Joel swallowed hard. Outside, the trash cage rattled again. The hyena was still there, waiting. Amina and Joel stepped into the yard like it was a different world. Without clinic lights, the familiar space became strange. Shadows were deeper. The fence line disappeared. Even the dirt underfoot looked uncertain. Amina held her flashlight low, angled so it lit the ground and the generator path without turning the beam into a weapon. Animals reacted differently to blinding light. She didn't want to provoke a charge. Joel carried a wrench and his flashlight. They moved along the wall, keeping the clinic at their backs like a shield. Halfway to the generator shed, Amina heard a soft sound, the scrape of claws on dirt. She froze and held up a hand. Joel stopped, breathing loud. The hyena stood near the trash cage, barely visible except for its shape against slightly lighter dirt. It turned its head toward them, ears forward. It didn't rush. It waited for movement. Amina raised the metal pole and struck it gently against the clinic wall. Ping. Controlled, not frantic. She kept her voice low. "Go on," she said. The hyena held still. Joel whispered, "It's not afraid." Amina whispered back, "It's curious. Fear comes later." They continued, slow. At the generator shed, Joel opened the door. The air smelled of diesel and old oil. He tried the starter again. The engine coughed once, then died. Joel swore. "Fuel line," he muttered. He knelt and opened the access panel. His hands shook. He forced them steady. Amina stood at the shed doorway, flashlight sweeping the yard in arcs, watching the shadow line. The hyena had moved closer, not close enough to touch. Close enough that Amina could see the spots on its coat now. It was using the darkness the way predators always did, as cover and confidence. Amina tightened her grip on the pole. She struck it again, louder this time, clang, against the shed frame. The hyena flinched, then stopped. Joel hissed, "Keep it away!" Amina's voice was tight but steady. "Fix the line," she replied. "Fast!" Joel worked the fuel hose, loosening a clamp, pulling the line free. A small clot of thickened fuel and grit clogged the intake. He stabbed at it with a wire, cleared it, then reattached the line with shaking fingers. Amina watched the hyena shift its weight forward, then back, as if deciding. Then the hyena did something that made Amina's chest go cold. It looked past her, toward the clinic door, toward the voices. It had learned where the humans were. It wasn't just interested in trash anymore, it was mapping the scene. Amina raised her voice, finally loud. "Hey!" She slammed the pole hard against the shed frame. The sound rang across the yard like a bell. The hyena jerked, startled, then trotted sideways, putting distance between itself and the noise. Not fleeing the area, just repositioning. Joel tightened the final clamp. "Done," he breathed. He hit the starter. The generator sputtered, coughed, then caught. The engine roared to life, loud and solid. Light didn't return instantly, but the sound alone changed the night. The generator's vibration filled the yard, making the environment less quiet, less controlled. The clinic lights flickered back on, first a weak glow, then full bright. Amina felt relief hit her like a wave. The hyena paused at the edge of the yard, ears twitching at the sudden noise and light. It stared once more, then turned and trotted into darkness toward the road. The clinic had become hostile again, not because humans fought, because the generator returned. Amina and Joel didn't chase, they didn't throw rocks, they didn't celebrate. They walked back along the wall and went inside, locking the door behind them like sealing a wound. The waiting room was still tense, but the light calmed people the way it always did. Light made things feel controllable. Amina returned to the boy and finished cleaning the cut properly. She stitched by steady lamp instead of flashlight beam. She checked the old man's breathing with less panic in the room. Joel sat on a chair near the door, sweating, hands shaking slightly. He looked at Amina and said quietly, "It came closer when it was dark." Amina nodded once. "That's what predators do," she said. "Dark makes people careless." Joel swallowed. "I almost ran." Amina's eyes met his. "And you didn't," she said. "That's why you're here." At dawn, when the sun lifted and the village woke, Amina walked outside with Joel to inspect the trash cage. The wire was bent farther. The latch was twisted. The hyena had tested it and nearly won. Amina stared at the damage and felt anger, but she aimed it in a useful direction. "We fix the cage," she said. "We lock it. We stop mixing food waste with medical waste. We stop feeding the night." Joel nodded. Amina looked toward the road where the hyena had waited. In daylight, it looked harmless, just dirt and grass and a line of trees, but she knew better now. The hyena hadn't attacked because it didn't need to. It had waited because waiting worked, and one generator failure had been enough to change the balance. That night, the clinic replaced the missing padlock. They stored waste in sealed containers. They topped off the generator tank before dark. They didn't leave the door propped open for air. Small changes, the kind that keep a night from becoming a story people tell for years. But Amina also knew the final truth. Predators didn't disappear because you won once. They returned to check. They returned to test. They returned when they smelled fear and opportunity. And the generator, an old machine with tired parts, would fail again someday, so the clinic prepared. Because in places like this, you don't get to choose whether the night comes. You only choose whether the night finds you ready.